Top 20 cryptos to buy now to become a millionaire in 2024. Hi there, my name is Stan. I'm the CEO and co-founder of international custom software development company. We build products for the city of New York, SAP, and General Electric. I have 200 people under management, and on this channel, I'm sharing my high uncertainty, low risk crypto journey on turning $500,000 into 10 million by the end of 2025. The first project on the list is Chainlink. Chainlink is used to get data from real world to approve smart contracts. It's basically the technology and the product that being used is in most of the smart contracts. ERC20s, tokens, and a range of contracts all around different blockchains as well. It's been very widely used, and the main thesis here is that it's going to be adopted by institutions for the trading and for other blockchain and Web3 technologies. So I think it's a great pick going into 2024. Just a very stable, nice token that was definitely do some numbers from this amount as well. And millionaires from last cycle, they're also buying a lot of Chainlink at this stage. Here is the website. They have a bunch of partnerships. They're constantly working on setting up partnerships with different companies. We can see here Compound, Swisscom, Lemonade as well. So there is a range of things that the company is doing. A large value of total transactions enabled as well. This is just something very stable. They operate as a business. It's just something great to have in your portfolio coming into next year as well. Number 2 is Internet Computer, ICP. It's basically Amazon Web Services and Web3. So if you would know, everything on the web is being hosted somewhere. And currently we have the technology of cloud hosting leading on the market. And Amazon Web Services is essentially a leading provider of this technology, along with Google, along with some other platforms as well. But Amazon Web Services is the main one. And even NFTs on Ethereum, they're being stored on the server on Amazon Web Services. So it's not that decentralized, I would say. Internet Computer is basically the analog of this functionality of this service in Web3, which is bullish, which is huge by itself. They're also doing some implementations in terms of the BRC20, so they're kind of catching this new narrative. So it's a great tech company, it's a great product, it's what everyone is using. And if you would check out my first 2 picks, Chainlink and ICP, they are infrastructure play for the engineers. So each and everything that would be built on the blockchain, there is a high chance that they would be using these 2 protocols, these two projects, and that's why I'm bullish on them. The third thing is Aptos. So Aptos is a blockchain which was not yet pumping much. There is an overview and narrative going around that this project would be essentially pumping soon, just through the Solana funds essentially redistributing somewhere else in different layer 2s, in different layer 1s, in different blockchains. Aptos is great as it is one of them, and essentially it's also a new project. So it launched in 2022 in the bear, and then it had like a crazy pump from $3 to $16, $18 almost. So I remember this pump vividly on the bear. It was one of the largest kind of project and use that are happening in the bear, and through all this consolidation period and things like that, it went down to $5, $6, and then it up from October basically, and it's still on $9, $10. So I do see this pump into the 3x from this time as well. It's always great to see this blockchain catching a range of narratives like gaming, DeFi, NFTs, and things like that. First one is Cosmos Atom. So it was not pumping much recently, although several tokens of this ecosystem, they're doing very nice numbers already. So it only went from $6 on the low to $11. So it's only 2x from this stage. Market cap is not so large. So it's only 4 billion in terms of these blue chip tokens. That's not so large. We also have Celestia, which is kind of the ecosystem of, they're using the technology of Cosmos Atom that pumped just nicely. And essentially it's also an infrastructure play. So a lot of companies, they are building the stuff using Atom and their technology of interoperability, so essentially being able to send information between different blockchains, which is quite huge by itself. So I think it's also a nice, safe infrastructure play that you might want to get. There are projections that Atom would cost $100 at the highest of the bull markets. So this is something that might be happening. This is something that might not be happening, but it's definitely a nice long-term play as well. Then we have Algorand. So it's basically the same type of thesis because it's also their own blockchain. They had a huge conference in Dubai last year. I think they spent around $6 million on the conference. It was one of the largest blockchain conferences where I was taking part at. They are huge in terms of real world assets as well. Last year, they closed the contract with Indian government to tokenize some of the real estate. I think it was $200 million contract. And if you would check, it did not pump much as well. So if you would check on the monthly, it went yeah, it went 2x. It's only 2 billion market cap, and it's the same narrative that Solana funds, they would essentially be transferred into different chains. So there's a high chance that this thing would be pumping higher as well, because it's just 2x from the lows. And yeah, I think it's very, very nice time to get some of the Algorand. And in general, for 2024, I think it's a nice peak, because something like this should be pumping as well. They're actually doing some things with the NFTs as well. So I know several top US artists who are using Algorand teams to establish some of the NFT drops and NFT collections. So they're working with them on the smart contracts and things like that. So it's quite bullish by itself. Flow is nice, as it's mostly blockchain that's being used for NFTs. The issue that they might have with them is that they have their own software development language, which kind of hard to pick up by itself in the first place. However, we had projects in Flow, so we have some experience working on the blockchain. So I think it's layer 2 on Ethereum. And then the narrative in terms of this product pumping is basically the same. So it did not pump much from the lows. I think, yeah, it's just like 20-30% up. So it might be actually a very, very nice time currently to get into this thing as well, because it's just from the fact that, yeah, it's actually 2x from the bottom. So just from the fact that funds from Solana, they would essentially be redistributed into layer 1s, and we should see bull market in terms of the layer 1s, in terms of these blockchains. And that's why I'm showing this. I think Aptos, Algorand, and Flow, they are a very nice choice in terms of actually buying and doing something like this. Last but not least, I think in terms of the layer 2s is Fantom, which is also layer 2 on ETH by itself. It did not also pump recently. So it just went, yeah, it's also about 2x from the lows, actually 2.5. Interesting thing about this project, as it's being pushed around crypto Twitter currently, so it's kind of picking up the narrative, and I think this is like this narrative of layer 2s on Ethereum. And once we see ETH pump, all of these projects, they would essentially pump as well. And essentially it's also a great choice moving into 2024, because ETH will pump and all of these projects, they will pump as well. So it might be a nice trade currently and a nice longer term hold moving forward into 2024. AGIX SingularityNET. So it's a great AI project. It's one of these alternatives that you might be getting currently instead of Render, because Render, it ran pretty much like nicely already. With AGIX, you only had 2x from the lows, and kind of things that we saw recently is that Solana pump and gaming pump, they were sucking liquidity out of AI pump. And it's a new project, so it might be a very, very nice bet in terms of putting some of your money here at this stage. It probably would do well moving forward into 2024. It's already on Binance and exchanges like this, so it's pretty straightforward and easy to buy. And there is a high chance that this project would actually be pumping in upcoming months or two, because I think that we will catch up with the AI narrative, and AI projects might do very, very well, because we didn't see a lot of them doing well recently. So they pumped around, I would say, 2 months ago. So it's kind of this time, the time is coming for the second wave in terms of ETH, in terms of gaming, in terms of AI, probably in terms of real world assets as well, because with the introduction of ETF, a lot of these things might pump as well. So I think this might be a great choice currently in kind of like a short-term, in a more short-term trade in a month or two, and essentially a great long-term hold for 2024 as well. Next thing is ApeCoin. So ApeCoin is the coin of Yuga Labs. Essentially, it's backed by Bored Apes community. It's a gaming token, and one that not a lot of people are talking about. And they're essentially doing a lot of things in terms of the metaverse, in terms of the integrations. They have crazy team like ex-Blizzard employees and people like that. So I think it might definitely catch up with the gaming narrative, especially once we would see metaverse narrative coming back as well. And it's definitely going to come back, because we already have all these bitmaps, and it's kind of just a natural evolution, because people would eventually be working in the metaverse, they would be spending time in the metaverse, they would go into the bank in the metaverse and things like that. So I think that's something that we would probably be seeing in the near future. So a great project by itself. Feel free to check out. I think it might pump a bit in upcoming months or two, just with the gaming catching up again. And at the same time, I think it's a great long-term hold in 2024. I think it definitely can do some numbers as well. PEPE. So one of the meme coins on ETH, I think it might be doing pretty well in upcoming months or two, just because of ETH narrative catching up. And PEPE is basically an ultimate ETH bet. It's a meme coin of this cycle, so it basically established at the start of 2022 in the bear. It started a meme coin season by itself. There are a lot of people, they have a very, very strong and nice community. There are a lot of people constantly pushing PEPE on crypto Twitter. So I think this token will definitely do well in the upcoming bull market. And even currently with ETH narrative kind of catching up, we see certain movements from different meme coins based on ETH at this stage. So I think this thing would actually do very, very well as well. And one of the theses that I have is that with Memecoin, it's kind of straightforward and easy to push this thing up because you don't need like to show traction with the product, with things like that. You basically just post memes and it's already on Binance. So they actually do have like some type of rewards loyalty system on Binance already in terms of the PEPE. So it's pretty straightforward to buy it on Binance, and it's pretty straightforward for people, for normies, to come into the market and basically get some of that PEPE. And this meme has been on the market for 15 years, I think, already, so everyone knows about it. Chia. So it's an interesting project that not a lot of people are talking about in the Western community. So this is a separate blockchain. They have like their own NFTs marketplace and things like that. The whole idea that it's green and it's essentially based on mining on the hardware devices in terms of the your hard disks, so storages of essentially memory in terms of your PCs and things like that. So it's great in terms of the whole narrative is being pushed in terms of this thing. If you would see the chart, we basically have like a target of $55 that we should reach following the chart of this thing. So I think it might happen quite nicely. It's being pushed in different communities around the world as well. I think it might be a pretty nice choice for a short-term trade like this, and a nice choice moving forward in 2024 as well. So it's definitely a longer-term hold. And if you would like to check out the project, they have a nice team. They have a lot of developments essentially going on for them. If you would like to check out the project, you can basically check it out and decide for yourself if you would like to make it a longer-term hold for yourself. So it's green, it's kind of following this narrative. It's also a separate blockchain, so it's quite nice. TRAC is basically like a mutual funds of BRC20s. It's like Chainlink on ordinals on BRC20s, and not only BRC20s but DRC20s as well, and it will probably be adding some other protocols too. So it's like a mutual fund of all these ordinals on BTC, and when we see BTC moving, all these ordinals, they basically outperform BTC and they move in parallel. It might be quite nice thing because we're seeing a correction currently, and it might be quite nice to get into it to get some exposure as we would surge to 48k, as we think might happen, and a lot of people might happen as well, that we might be surging to 48k. I think it might be a nice trade, short-term trade, and essentially as a long-term, I think it's at least a 10x from here conservatively in terms of TRAC. The next thing is Crown. So it's the project that also was shielded by Alex Becker recently. It's basically a gambling project on Solana, kind of like a horse racing that you can bet on. So there is another project called D-Race about this thing, and there is this project. So the fact that makes me bullish about it is that it's on Solana, and it's also a gamified token. It's gaming as well. So, and even now, if you would go to hippodromes, you would essentially see all the guys like betting on different horses, and they've been doing it for 40-50 years, and they're still continuing to do that. So it's a great addicting thing, and I'm just bullish on Gamify in general. So I think it's at 60 million market cap at this stage, but yeah, I think it's quite nice to have a review in your portfolio as well, and it's definitely going to do some numbers moving into 2024. Next thing is CRUST network. So it's essentially a decentralized infrastructure play on Polkadot. Quite nice by itself. So we've done 3x from the lows of October. And as mentioned, I think decentralized infrastructure would be picked up by a lot closer to the end of 2024, with us having projects like Render. And essentially, if you would think about the metaverse and if you would think about things like that, there is no way decentralized metaverse would be achieved without decentralized infrastructure protocols and products that essentially would allow for the users to be able to provide the part of their efficiency of the hardware to help render the metaverse and run the service and data flows and things like that. So it might be a nice pick because it's a kind of low cap decentralized infrastructure. So it just recently had surged. So you would probably want to maybe buy it on the correction, maybe on this level. Probably will revisit this level, but no one knows. Next thing is WINR protocol. This token I unfortunately sold, and I would have a 2x from my entry here already. It's essentially also infrastructure play, which makes me bullish on this thing, because if you would check out this video as overall, like I have a lot of infrastructure plays, and they are essentially safer bets because infrastructure is something that might be leveraged and used by different companies on the market. So So it's already like more bullish and safer in terms of like whether you're betting in one project, one company, one game and things like that. So WINR basically it's like a white labeled casino. So you can go and get yourself a casino running with WINR protocol. You would have the tokens as essentially Web3 currency in your casino. You would probably get some of the support from them as well. So there are several projects that have been run on WINR already. Makes me quite bullish on the project. There are unlocks from investors going on in this project as well. And I think a market cap is larger than we see here. But at the same time, yeah, it's nice GameFi play. If you would want to get into the niche, that's pretty nice. VEGA protocol. So it's a very interesting project. The main thing is that it's basically decentralized DEX. It's a huge narrative in terms of decentralized DEXs because we see the things that are happening currently in terms of the Binance, things that happen with FTX and things like that. So it's still in the narrative, and the fact that there are regulations coming and there are requirements in terms of essentially move forward through KYC and things like that. And it might be not convenient for a certain amount of people to basically go through this process. And a lot of people, they would not want to go through the process by themselves. And one of the great things in terms of VEGA is that it is actually heavily backed by different funds. So different funds, they have a bunch of money in VEGA currently. They invested a lot, and obviously they would be planning to make ROI on these things. So they would be essentially waiting to take the profits on the project. Therefore, they would be pumping this project as well once the narrative will catch up. So quite bullish on this project. I think it might do very, very well. Push protocol. So it's basically the same story as VEGA, it's just a lower market cap, so it might be more lucrative from this end. So the main reason of me showing this project is because it has quite nice volumes currently, and they have funds also invested into this project. So the default kind of playing scenario in terms of push protocol is that funds, they invested, I think, several like tens of millions of dollars, and the market cap of this project is 15 million. So there is no way that they can take profits on this field, on this thing at this stage. So they would be looking to push this project up and then be taking profit on the whole thing. So that's kind of the main narrative here. And one of the great things is that there are a lot of volumes in this token currently. So it means that someone is buying, someone is selling, and it might be funds who are essentially buying out the supply of the token currently, that therefore to then have a larger volume of this token and be able to push the price of the token up. So from this point of view, I think it might be a nice choice as well. It's kind of similar to VEGA, but it's a lower market cap from VEGA. It's also the protocol, so it's infrastructure play, pretty straightforward. VPP, so something that I mentioned on this channel a lot. It's a GameFi and gaming play. It's being pushed by Alex Becker as well. You basically have just the largest gaming influencer pumping the token, which is 5-6 million at this stage. So that's pretty much everything that you need to know. It's also a working product. They have a team, they have revenue, they have users and things like that. POLKER is kind of something that goes along with VPP. So this is a poker game in Unreal Engine. And the reason I have this token is because they essentially kind of go in pair, go in two, and often if we see natural movement on VPP, we would also see a pump on POLKER as well. So it's lower market cap. It's definitely a risky play. It's also in terms of the GameFi and GameFi. And yeah, as we see, it surged quite a lot, but we're at a nice correction currently. So once gaming and GameFi would pick up, I think it might do very, very well. Although we might go to this level. So 0058, there's a chance that we would revisit this support and from there essentially surge up. But if you want to have some exposure, you can buy something now and buy more on the correction. That's like the safest way to do it. So it's a Unreal Engine. They have the game on the Epic Game Store as well, and they're working on the mobile version that they should be launching soon, and then after that eventually getting VC injection and essentially finalizing this whole thing. So last but not least is FANX project, FANX. So it's basically OnlyFans in Web3 in crypto, which makes me bullish by itself, and it was actually at 2 million I think yesterday. So currently it's at 3.5, which is quite nice by itself. I think you can still get into this token. The main thing about it is it's basically about OnlyFans. So sex always sells in different industries. So I think it's a pretty nice type of setup in terms of what might happen with this type of product. And there were some products of this nature essentially being pushed heavily by the market in the last cycle. And if you would check, they have like the logos like front fence here, so they definitely have some models, they know how to shoot, and it's always great because in terms of this type of product you would probably be looking for experience of OnlyFans type of agencies, so they would know how to work with the models, they would know what's needed on the market. And it's great that essentially they have this experience following the pictures and overviews that we see there. And you can already sign up, you can essentially provide your email and things like that. So it might be a great, nice choice because sex sells, and it would always be. That's about it about all the tokens. Thank you very much. Let me know what you think in the comments. See you in the next one. Bye bye.